Welcome back, dear viewers, and still continuing our special coverage of the Russia-Africa Summit currently being held in the Russian city of Sochi. And now we will go to this report on the Russian-African relations. Stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has called on Russian and international firms to invest in Africa, stressing in his speech at the opening of the first ever Russia-Africa Summit on Wednesday that this is the ideal time for economic openness to the continent. The president also urged regional and international funding bodies to back development efforts in the continent by offering special conditions and powerful incentives to projects and development programs there. The summit is chaired by President el-Sisi, who holds the rotating presidency of the 55-nation African Union, and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Speaking at the opening session of the summit in the seaside resort of Sochi, President el-Sisi urged African leaders to work to improve business climate and promote private-public partnership in the region and unite to achieve peace, stability, economic growth, and development for its people. El-Sisi said African countries are putting infrastructure development and promoting economic integration at the forefront of joint cooperation. The head of state said that human development is the key for sustainable development in a continent where people under 25 years of age make up 65 of the 1.2 billion population. The president said that the forum will open up commercial and investment opportunities and help develop economic ties between African countries and Russia. For his part, Russian President Vladimir Putin said during his speech at the opening session that his country is among the top 10 importers from Africa, but called for further boosting of trade with the continent. Moscow says trade with African countries climbed to $20 billion last year. Putin added that a number of trade, economic and investment agreements is expected to be signed after the forum concludes. He went on to say that his country is setting up a major industrial zone comprising 23 firms in a planned international industrial and logistics hub near Suez Canal, adding that there are plans for more firms to join in the future. Putin said Russian-Egyptian relations were developing very positively, with trade turnover growing by 14% last year to reach $7.7 billion. A Russia-Africa Economic Forum is being held alongside the two-day summit that brings together more than 40 African leaders. Besides boosting political and economic cooperation, the summit is planned to lay out measures to fight terrorism, cross-border crime, and threats to regional and global security. According to the summit's official website, a joint document will be adopted following its conclusion.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and still with our coverage of the Russia-African Summit. And with us over the phone is Ambassador Ahmad Haggag, former Secretary General or former Assistant Secretary General of the Organization of African Unity. Good afternoon, Mr. Ambassador. Good afternoon, Ambassador Haggag.
Good afternoon.
Sir, how do you see the significance of the Russia-African Summit currently being held in the Russian city of Sochi?
This is the first African-Russian summit of its kind, although it is similar to other summits which held by major powers in Africa, but it has its own momentum. It's concerning the economic side. There will be discussion about anti-terrorism, immigration issues, security, social affairs, humanitarian assistance, but it's mainly African economic relations with Russia. You remember that Russia, the inheritor of the former Soviet Union, which was very much preoccupied with African issues. It helped liberation movements in Africa, trained their leaders in the Soviet Union, and also concluding a lot of weapon agreements in several African countries, concentrated in building heavy industries in several African countries. Therefore, I think it will produce good results. We have seen many heads of states and government from Africa attending this conference. And it was well prepared. It was preceded by several preparatory meetings on special aspects which will be discussed in the summit.
Right. Well, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, in his speech at the summit, stressed that the Russian Economic Forum is an opportunity to discuss various important economic files, as Africa plays a vital role in the global economy. How do you see the significance of the President's speech and the points he stressed at his speech?
I have to draw attention to what President Putin has said, that 40% of Russian trade relation with Africa is done with Egypt. He mentioned specifically the offer for building nuclear generating power to African countries, and mentioned specifically the Daba agreement. I think President Sisi, as a chairman, the current chairman of the African Union, was very careful in trying to call in on the private sector, not only the governmental sector in Russia, to invest more in Africa, together with calling on international financial institutions to do the same. This was reflected in the European Union representative, which said that the European Union, who is a major partner with Africa, is going to increase its assistance to the African continent and to the African Union itself. So I think this conference, especially co-chaired by President Sisi and President Putin, will be a turning point in Russian relation with African countries.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Ambassador Ahmad Haggag, former Assistant Secretary General of the Organization of African Unity. Many thanks for your insights, sir. And dear viewers, with this, we come to the end of this special edition of Africa Today, covering the Africa-Russia Summit currently being held in the Russian city of Sochi.